going on, YouTube? Thank you for clicking on this video. Welcome to my channel. We're going to talk about 90s metal only. That's all we do here. Got some stuff in my collection lately. You know how it is. All I do is collection updates for the most part. So I hope you're doing good. I'm doing pretty good. Thanks to this music that gets me through the day by day. Banging in the background for you to enjoy. This is good. A lot of times I'll get a lot of albums in, I give them a spin, I'll be doing something else, not giving my full attention. I know I wish I had the focus and time and energy to concentrate on the music that I have in my house. I never will. But I couldn't quite think of much of anything to say about this one because I had only listened to it a few times, and I'm not super familiar with this album yet. So I put it on and I just thought, why don't I reacquaint myself for a little bit? And then I was just like, fuck it, why don't I just play it in the background, shoot the video. This is a band called Hypnotic Scenery, and that is an album cover you're not going to forget anytime soon. Vacuum. So this band was from Czechia, and they play kind of a death doom kind of deal. Kind of reminded me of some Rotting Christ. Like, this totally reminds me of Triarchy of Lost Lovers. Luggage, if you are Pat from Ground Zero Salem. This album came out in '95. Why would you want this merch? Like, I get the dedication to the album cover. Like, I appreciate that this is a reissue, and they stuck with the album cover. Like, it's not a great album cover, but really going all for it. Don't know if I would follow you there, but yeah, not really any outstanding kind of stuff by any stretch of the imagination. I've been really in this kind of niche style. I've been really feeling this kind of stuff. The death metal has been a little bit too samey. Doomy stuff is maybe a little bit too just sluggish and slow. I've been liking some stuff with a lot of variety to it and variation and I guess artistic nuance to some pretty nice riffing. So I've been just kind of really focusing in on this little pocket of style that really is just like the way it is in my mind. And it kind of all goes back to that Babylon Sad album that I was talking about or played in my last collection update. So the Babylon Sad, the Hypnotic Scenery, there's this other album that I'm trying to nail down a copy of. Vic Records is putting it out, re-releasing it. I think this year. It's supposed to be this year. I don't know. I would really like to have a copy of it. It's called Sensitive to Autumn by a band called Sad Whisperings. And it has one of the worst album covers I've ever seen. I just can't find a copy of it. And I'm sick of waiting around for Vic Records to reissue it. So, like, those three, and then another one we're going to talk about, I just kind of have always had in this little familial pocket in my mind for whatever reason. So if you can think of any other things that kind of remind you of this, actually two releases here that we have that I recently bought have just kind of always lived in a corner in my mind for many, many, many years, for whatever reason. Do you do that? Do you have like weird linked albums that actually don't have anything much to do with each other, but in your head they just kind of live in the same closet in some way? I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I picked up a couple of cheapies on Facebook. A couple of like metal and hard rock CD seller kind of things. So I finally picked up a copy of this. I've been wanting this for quite a while. Seeing the heavy metallurgy guys kind of gawk on about Hypertrace from Germany's Scanner. I wasn't expecting this to be an OG copy. I think he sold me this for like $10 or something, so that's kind of a steal. Get a load of the mugs on these bastards. Jesus. Is this not the most... That's a lot. Like, I've got a lot of adjectives for those faces. I didn't love this. I mean, based on what I had heard from people who do love this band, I almost shelled out about like $40 for an OG copy of this a couple years ago, and I kind of kicked myself for not doing it based on how much Marty and friends love this band. And I thought it would have been maybe more of, based on what I was hearing, like a power metal kind of thing, like a European power metal with soaring, clean, kind of catchy choruses, maybe more like a Blind Guardian kind of thing is what I had in mind. But this I did not expect to have so much in common with Halloween. This is very much sounds like riding on the coattails of Halloween, the Walls of Jericho kind of stuff. I'm not super familiar with Walls of Jericho. I bought that when I was really, really young and got rid of it, and I haven't really come back to it. But yeah, there was also some kind of like studio effects. I can't get over their faces. Look at this dude. Just smooching the air at you. They all want to meet your sister. So, wow. Didn't love it. There were some pretty cheesy studio effects on the vocals that really just... And yeah, like, for as adjacent as it is to early Halloween, I just thought, like, why am I not just listening to Halloween here? Am I wrong? Am I off the mark there? I don't feel like I am. But I also picked up this. So this is weird. This is a really weird thing. So this is a Norwegian band who started out playing kind of the symphonic black metal with their EP Ode to the Night Sky. And then, which I think it's kind of rare, self-released, hasn't been in print for maybe ever since then, since it came out in like 94, maybe 96. But so this here is their follow-up debut full-length Spectral Spheres Coronation. So this is the second time I've bought this thing, because when I bought it back when I would have been 18, I read that this was Norwegian symphonic power metal, and that hooked me. But upon listening to it, I absolutely hated it and got rid of it. So I thought maybe this is the time that I should revisit it, give it another shot, and I have been. And so, where do I begin? The band has changed their style, not a whole lot, but I would say they have a lot in common with like Covenant, that Nexus Polaris album. For a while, like it's pretty clear that this is a band that once played symphonic black metal, a la Norway. But for the first part of the album, it is quite a bit like that. And then towards the second half of the album, they really embrace the new singer. And the new singer is Jorn Landa, who I'm actually not very familiar with. He just kind of lives in this Euro power metal sphere that I don't really dwell in at all. But his singing style is very, very akin to like Tony Martin from Black Sabbath. And I do love Tony Martin era Black Sabbath. My Headless Cross might be my favorite Black Sabbath album. I'm not I don't love Black Sabbath as much as most people do. So I think being that it's pretty similar to Tony Martin, I am kind of fond of the vocals, but the vocals and the music just don't always make sense. It's an oil and water kind of situation pretty regularly, and I struggle with it. And that might be how it always is. But they're a remarkable band. It's kind of this sitting right in front of you, kind of secretive thing. Like, not a lot of people know about this. I mean, the album cover is certainly forgettable. and like it's just kind of a nuclear blast, flash in the pan kind of thing. But it's a funny thing seeing, like, hearing their Ode to the Night Sky EP, which is very, very good, but very different from this full length. It's just kind of a funny thing to see them go from one thing to another and go, God, that's a head scratcher. What? Some of it's really good and some of it is not great. So I saw these guys live a couple weeks ago. They're a new project, kind of a super group kind of thing. I had seen some people mentioning this as kind of a highlight black metal album for the year, and listened to it a little bit and thought, it's all right. But since they came so close, and it was kind of a rare opportunity to see one of my favorite drummers, Dave Whitty, play, I went to the show and had a good time. Kind of liked their set and bought their album. This is Morbicon with of Mournful Twilight. So this is members of Municipal Waste, who I don't really have a whole lot to say about them, and it's a confusing lineup here. On Metal Archives, it says that 2 members are in Fintroll, which would make sense. It sounds kind of like that, but whatever. I don't think some of the members were all the way from Finland just to play here in Iowa. But it's a pretty fun album. I can't really put my finger on what the chief influences sounds like. They're really like playing on a certain guitar tuning that kind of just makes black metal riffs happen out of thin air. So I wouldn't say it's like super clever or original really in any way. It's just kind of like, it sounds like a bunch of guys who are in talented thrash bands who just kind of want to like pay an homage to some European black metal bands. It's not like of a Venom lineage. It's melodic. It's not super hyper melodic like some Swedish stuff, but it is. It's well thought out and produced and arranged. It's not super fast and blasty like the name Dave Whitty might make you think. It's just kind of right there in the middle. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty overlookable. But they put on a good show, and I did wind up listening to this a couple times, and I enjoyed it. It's not album of the year material, but whatever. It was fun. I've had this on my wish list for many years. It's not a super rarity or anything, but I was kind of surprised to find this pop up for €10. So I jumped on it. I've been just kind of like filling some holes in with Napalm Records, some early stuff. This is Napalm 18, and you wouldn't know it from the cover here. What an unassuming cover that just tells you absolutely nothing. I'm sorry, the glare here is kind of rough. But so the band is called Dismal Euphony. I've talked about them quite a bit on my channel. Fuck, that's a real hard glare. And they were really good. This is their demo reissued on CD. It was originally released in '95. And even though there is quite a salad bowl full of garbage from Napalm Records of symphonic black metal with lots of female vocals and lots of synth, this stuff is just kind of special. Their album, Autumn Leaves, The Rebellion of Tides, is tremendous. It's excellent. And so this is just kind of like me collecting their early stuff. Just 3 tracks. I want to say it's probably like over in 15 minutes. But I'm kind of happy to fill that hole in the collection. NPR 018. I did a video a couple years ago where I went through my entire Napalm collection and talked about every album that I had up to like 99 or something like that. And that was fun. Which I guess that will take us here pretty nicely to this next CD that I got. NPR, I'm just going to throw this, maybe 05, maybe their 5th release or so, was by a band called Visceral Evisceration. And that album has been challenging and bizarre as all get out. It is Well, here, so this is the demo of Visceral Evisceration called The Lost Tapes. So this is the demo from before that full length that came out on Napalm, and then there's like, they changed the name and they did another like 5-song demo or something under the name As I Lay Dying. No, not that band. They are from Germany. Yeah, I hate this cover art. This is kind of terrible, but just in case you want to look it up. Is that how I do it? Okay, there. That's pretty bad, yeah. The original cover is actually halfway decent. So this is a Vic Records reissue. Lots of words in here. This is kind of tiny, but there's the original cover art. That would have been fine with me. But man, this is so cool. This band was so cool. And this is one of those instances where I kind of feel like the demo might be better than the album. I'd be lying if I say I go back to their full length very often. I don't. But I've been listening to this a lot, and it kind of goes in with this Hypnotic Scenery stuff, where it's kind of mid-paced death doom with some really smart and clever kind of melodicism and harmonic guitar work. It's just a really unknown kind of thing that not a lot of people are going to love or remember or even discover, so I think it only came out on CD. But it's worth picking up. I got this, I think, on Amazon for 10 or 12 bucks or something. Super cool, though. That's probably what I've been listening to the most over the last month or so. Really, really good. Lots of replayability. And then also another Napalm hole that I'm filling. This is 16. NPR 016. This band is called Belmez with Siechtum. German black metal? I feel like in order to be confidently categorized as black metal or death metal, you've got to kind of be like good at it to a certain extent. Now, everything about the aesthetic of this booklet would make you think that this is awesome, especially for a nerd like me who is obsessed with Napalm Records. Now, look at that guy. Look at that dude. That would make me think this is awesome. This is not awesome. It's not horrible. So I'm thankful I only paid like, I don't know, €12 or something like that for it. I don't really know what he's going for. There are a lot of different varied ideas. I feel like this is kind of like one of those kids that learned how to play guitar, got a drum machine, and thought, finally, I can impress all my friends, all my metal, like the whole metal world will know who I am finally, because I have so many various ideas that I want to put out, and it has so little composition to the album, because from one song to another, the sounds will change so much. There are some passages of drum machine stuff that are abysmal, but there's some parts that are really cool. So it's a real mixed bag. If you're super curious about something like that, go for it. There is another Belmez album that I need for the collection, and I'm going to try and probably square that up here by the end of the year. And then there's some really, really early Napalm Records albums that I probably won't ever come across, but just been having kind of fun going back in time, as I always do with these albums. So I'm just going to do all the CDs, then we'll get to the LPs. So another one kind of in that pocket, like I was saying, with the death doom kind of stuff, the mid-pace kind of stuff. This really doesn't fit along with like what we're listening to style-wise, now that I have familiarized myself with this album by buying a copy of it. I think it's just got a reissue on vinyl 2 years ago, I want to say. Obviously, the band is called Polluted Inheritance with Ecocide. But again, Vic Records reissue. This kind of slays. This really sounds like a European band who wanted to do something like Death after hearing Human. But I think they're Dutch, which brings me to the obvious similarity. There's kind of some sinister sound to this. So Definitely a lot of Floridian kind of sounds. Definitely some Dutch death metal kind of stuff. This isn't brilliant or unique or different in any way, but you know, if you long for the sound of those albums in that era and you want an album that you haven't heard before, this is definitely worth getting. It's pretty solid, and it adds a demo on the end of it. I'm not sure what it's called, but I think the cover is what was behind the disc there. Again, not amazing, but worth getting. I want to say the LP version had a different cover on it. Wow. That's some singing right there. This might be the third or fourth video or so that I've talked about this album in, but I'm going to do it again. I finally nailed down an original copy of the reissue of Macaroni's Cremation. My man Tony just played this in a video not too long ago, and I played it in a video a couple weeks ago. I was going to make a whole video about the saga of how challenging it was for me to buy a copy of this reissued album. Because the label that put this out, Perfect Records, I'm going to try and refrain from getting into the whole saga. I'm not going to do a whole video about it, I don't think, because it kind of turned out... It's not a huge story anymore, but it's hard finding a copy of this, especially from the label that put it out. They have copies of it, but they aren't going to let you buy copies of it, which is weird. So this is a Singapore band, obviously that's weird. And this came out in '95 originally, original master, and it's kind of an early brutal death metal, but it's gnarly, and there are slow parts to it. It's not annoying like any brutal death metal albums are. It's not slick and overproduced like a bunch of them are. It's fucking dirty, gross. A lot of Cannibal Corpse kind of style on here. I really, really dig this. I discovered this by way of Aesop Decker. On his Instagram, he was talking about one of their later albums, and I just thought, wow, a band called Macaroni. I better look into that some more. So I found this on Discogs. I paid a bit for it. Wasn't cheap, but I love it. It's worth it. I'm so happy that I finally tracked that down after just salivating over it for so long. By the way, ceremonium. This, I don't have the tape in front of me. Necroharmonite just put out this ceremonium shirt along with an old unreleased rehearsal recording. I'll put a link down below for you to get that. I don't believe he's sold out. He might have the shirt and not the tape. We'll see. But here I have some goodies on vinyl. Thurgathon. Ah! Yeah, so this reissue came in this. This is a 7th Rule version. I've never heard of this label. But the jacket that this is printed on is so thick and like stiff and boardy that I can't get the record in the fucking sleeve, so just sliding it in like that. Y'all should know this one. I don't know, I kind of wanted to pick this up because I've been really enjoying spinning records at events around my area. Even though not a lot of people stand around and listen to me spin records, it's just really fun. And I wanted to have some more big-time funeral doom kind of stuff to play, just to kind of change it up with some of the faster stuff that I listen to. And I've always liked this album quite a bit. I'm curious, though, I know a lot of, it's probably too late, but I know they reissued their demos a couple of years ago, probably 10 years ago at this point now, but are those better than the album? Because I don't know, I didn't love this as much as I remembered in the past. It's a little underproduced for me. This is one of those funeral doom albums that has the kind of magical quality of transcendence but it kind of takes me a while to get there because of how rough the recording is on it. This pressing sounds fine. I'm not sure if I remember it being so just like demo tape quality. I would love it, I think, more if it had like the clever studio mastery of Skepticism, Stormcrow Fleet, or something like that. I didn't know this was a bootleg, not that I care a whole lot. I thought that Inferna Profundus was the only label that was able to do official Judas Iscariot releases. So I don't know. I kind of don't care because you're never going to get a chance to buy Judas Iscariot officially on vinyl, so might as well just get whoever does the best bootleg. This is Heaven in Flames. This is one of those cases where I found out that someone was pressing it in Europe. I went ahead and bought it and had it shipped from Europe, and then like the very next day, Nuclear War Now was taking orders for it. Whatever. No insert. Sounds decent. Yeah, I would kind of love to have some more Judas Iscariot on vinyl. This is one of the better ones, Heaven in Flames. God, I hadn't listened to this in quite a while, honestly. I had a period, like 2002 or so, 2003, where I listened to this stuff a lot. It was a master. There's really no way around it. That dude lived the black metal lifestyle and mentality, and that black metal is so unapologetically uninfluenced by anything but the true black metal aesthetic that makes it sound like that. That's all there is to it. I had the pleasure of meeting him back in 1998, I want to say, at Metal Fest in Milwaukee. That was cool. So, just kind of always been a fan. Definitely To Embrace the Corpses of Bleeding is my... I'd love to have that bootleg. You should probably look into that. Anyways, here is a non-90s release that a lot of you have probably seen going around. This is Ice with Imperial... Ice's Imperial Crystalline Entombment with Ancient Glacial Resurgence. Kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. It's kind of a celebratory reemergence of a style that has kind of gone by the wayside over the years. Debemer Morty reissued their one and only album this year, and it sold out within like 5 minutes. Which I thought was funny because I was a fan of this band way back when this originally, well, the other album came out in '98, and so it's cool to just see this finally getting some attention again. But it's weird, like, why are we digging like just right into this band? There's a lot of other stuff like this, but anyways, this album is really sick. It's cool to see a lot of people loving it. It's getting a lot of attention here and there, and I think Debemer Morty is a pretty cool spot for them to be on, honestly. But you've got kind of a blistering, blizzardy riffs with tons of blasting. It's got a nice, super slick production to it. It's kind of like, there were a ton of albums like this coming out back around 98 to 2000 or so, and beyond, let's be honest. And a lot of it was super watered down and mediocre. But this band just had a way with riffs that were awesome. They could pull influences from, like, I noticed some Kvist riffs on here for sure, some Immortal for sure. But they with the template that they've got, just kind of like 225 BPM blast beats all the time, they can kind of do whatever the fuck they want. So it's fun to hear them kind of pull in a bunch of different influences upon that scaffold of influence and do whatever they want with it. But there's some definite tongue-in-cheek self-awareness to it that's kind of fun. It's just kind of fun to see someone play fast black metal and just kind of really turn a whole lot of the aesthetic on its head and do some different things with it. Nice, pretty vinyl on there. Not sure if it's sold out as quickly as the reissue did or not, but it's cool. Listen to Ice. I think they are going to be doing more, even still yet. All right, 3 more. Might be sold out. I'm not sure. I believe there were only 100 copies of this pressed or so. Not sure if the album's over or not. This band is called Lightbreaker, and the Annihilation of the Ennealids is the title of the album. YouTube has been like making its own chapters for my videos, and I'm noticing that it doesn't really know what to call each chapter. I'm trying to figure out that. But so this chapter should be called Lightbreaker because this band is called Lightbreaker from Portland, Oregon. Cool painting. I love this. So this is cool on its own. It is like a solo death metal kind of project where he pulls in a lot of different players and performers on the album. This is Leon from Exhumed and a bunch of other stuff. I'm not super familiar with the other stuff that Leon has done, funny enough. But this is kind of an homage to Oxyplagats, which is one of my favorite weirdo black metal bands that nobody seems to know about. So it's awesome to have somebody pay homage and put a ton of effort into performing those influences in a whole new context. But so where Oxyplagats was, by the way, Oxyplagats is the solo project of the guitar player who left at the gates after the first album. And I believe in my heart, no, second album, sorry, that he is why those first 2 albums are so wild. This is not black metal, but it is very weird. It's super symphonic. There's a lot of clean, operatic kind of vocals going on. And a lot of times I have kind of a hard time with that popping up in my metal. But I feel like most people would have a far worse problem with it than myself. So it's super complex. It's very fast and blasty and brutal. But there are so many different changes all over the place. It's really busy and sci-fi themed and energetic and just wild. Look at these cool stickers. And then there's this booklet about the whole story of the Ennealids. It's a cool story, and just like Oxyplagats, he had this story to the whole Sidereal Journey album. So it's like an illustrated comic book to thumb through while you listen to this death metal album. It's wild, and I love it. I love the nerdery that is on display here. Love it. So by the way, if you happen to check out Oxyplagats because of this, just go ahead and check out the Sidereal Journey album. That's the one I recommend most, but also recommend this. This is cool. It's kind of a lot. It's not the kind of thing you're going to put on and go, I'm going to listen to it again. It's taxing. All right. The greatest death metal album. This can only contend with Left Hand Path, I believe. Finally reissued. I will admit, I am not very familiar with this album. I was a latecomer to this band. I've had a reissue CD copy of it for a long time, but I'll admit the hype around this band just kind of always kept me from getting into their music because I didn't want to dislike it because of what I thought other people loved about it. But now that I've got this copy on vinyl, I have been really just settling up with it and enjoying the fuck out of it. It is a monster masterpiece. This is one of those albums that will never be forgotten by time. It's amazing in every fucking way. I do kind of, it makes me regret how long I took to really get in bed with this album. Beautiful vinyl. I didn't know Nuclear Blast was putting out, like, this is great. Like, this is a perfect reissue. I I don't really pay attention to what Nuclear Blast is doing now. I don't know if they're doing any reissue campaigns or not, but if they're all going to be of this caliber and quality, this is absolutely perfect. I love the vinyl look on it. It sounds amazing. And yeah, it's long overdue that this album was in print again. I hope they're doing CD as well. But yeah, y'all should be familiar with this. Kind of feel weird that I haven't been. But yeah, what can you say? It's great. Another reissue, Nagelfar's Visceral. This is one of my very first loves in Swedish black metal. It can all be traced back to this one for sure. And this is one of those albums that Daryl Kahan from Bazagorith lent to my friends back in 95 or so probably, and then I heard it, so because of him I love Nagelfar's Visceral. Again, another sick, really well done reissue of a classic album. I don't know, the other albums by this band I don't really care for. I did have Diabolical for a little bit, and I got rid of that, but I wouldn't mind picking that up again, maybe, and seeing what I think of it. But this one right here, this is it. It's amazing. This one has the magic of mid-90s metal. So, if you think you know Nagelfar and you haven't heard this one, give it a shot. This to me is a nice kind of companion piece to like Cradle of Filth's The Empire, if you will. It's got a lot of keyboards and acoustic stuff and some clean melodies, but it's so melancholic and so hateful. Jens Ryden's vocals on this are amazing as well. But Century Media, good on you. This is a great reissue. It wasn't cheap, but I think this is remastered by Dan Svanja. Yeah. I followed the habit of the boss man there, and I put my hype stickers on my sleeves. I like that. So that's it for today. Subscribe to Explosive Action, and let me know what you've been spinning. Later.
Woohoo! That was a great video, and it was made possible mostly by me, but also thanks to the undying and kind support of my Patreon subscribers. Thank you all. I love you. If you are interested in being a part of my Patreon channel and supporting what I do, you are welcome to join at the URL below. It is only $6.66 per month, and you're going to love it.